Welcome to Your Daily Detroit, recorded on Monday, June 24th, 2019. I'm Jer Stays. Over the weekend, something that might seem out of a late 70s horror movie appeared. A swarm of bees descended on the Rosa Parks Transit Center in downtown Detroit, making for some crazy pictures on social media. To the rescue came Timothy Paule Jackson and Nicole Lindsay of Detroit Hives. They're based on Detroit's east side near Warren and McClellan and have been helping keep Detroit's bee population in good shape. They're also our guests today. After all, honeybees around the nation have been under siege, which isn't good for our ecosystem. So let's jump into my conversation with Timothy and Nicole right after this. Wanted to thank today's episode sponsor, Milo.agency. Milo is a marketing agency that produces amazing experiences for audiences. They partner with their clients to drive business and create innovative content. Do cool stuff with them at Milo.agency. What happened there at the Rosa Parks Transit Center?
That's a very good question. What happened was that there was a honeybee swarm, actually a couple honeybee swarms, but when we got there was one remaining. And this is a completely natural process where honeybees, they typically outgrow their space. Any hive can start from 10,000 up to 60,000 honeybees, and anything over that, they do what's called a swarm. And that's where the queen bee, along with half of her loyal subjects or worker bees, will go out and scout and find a new home. And they typically don't fly very far from where their hive is. So there are definitely some hives that's downtown where they relocated and pretty much landed right on a bus stop sign, I would say. Actually, the Finkel bus stop sign.
Yeah.
That's a pretty one. They didn't even choose 24-hour service. I don't think that line's got 24-hour service.
So I think they need a ride. They need somewhere to go.
Yeah.
Well, and I understand y'all gave that ride.
Absolutely,
Right,
we
we
give them a
did.
ride, but this wouldn't have been possible. We saw actually a post where someone tweeted us at that mentioned that there were some bees there. So we saw a post from Twitter, and we immediately went into action and went down there just to help save the bees, but also make the area safe as well for the residents and the community.
Yeah. So even before we got that tweet, we actually had picked up another swarm earlier that day. So yeah, so that was like swarms back to back.
Now, typically bees here in Michigan, they typically swarm around the month of May. But because we've been having a lot of May showers and June flowers, the season has kind of been pushed back. So a lot of honeybee colonies are now swarming for this month of June, but it typically happens in May. And the best way as beekeepers, typically urban beekeepers, is we want to be able to kind of mitigate that or kind of prevent swarmings if we can. And some ways we can do that is either by doing natural splits, by either splitting the hives ourselves, where we can take we can either take the queen eggs that she's laid and create a new hive where those worker bees can create a whole nother queen themselves or raise a whole nother queen. Or what we can do is set up a swarm trap. And this is another hive that's somewhere in the near area, and it already has local food inside that hive for them to swarm into.
Could you take a moment and let's familiarize people with Detroit Hives? Because urban beekeeping is on the rise here in the Motor City.
Absolutely.
And I'm just excited to talk to you about, so where did y'all come from? How did you get into bees?
My background's in commercial photography and advertising. I've been doing this for over 12 years, servicing clients from headshots, graphic design, fashion photography, you name it. It wasn't until December 2016 that I was undertaken with a really bad cold. And this cold began to last too long. And I tried over-the-counter medication. I tried home remedies first. And then I even resorted to over-the-counter medication. And then I even went to seek the help of a physician to figure out what was going on with me. However, I didn't get any much answers, and I was just placed on antibiotics. Needless to say, this cold began to last too long. It was over 2 months, and that's way too long. So mistakenly, I came across a liquor store in Ferndale. It's the 9 and Hilton Market. And this liquor store isn't too far from where we do a lot of our advertising work. And I was going to the store probably to get some juice or some chips or some snacks to head back to the office and just cramming some work while dealing with this cough and cold. And that's probably not the best solution when you're sick, but it just provided a few snacks while I was working, doing some late night work. So while inside the store, I was coughing like almost every 10 seconds like I was normally experiencing. Yeah. And the store owner recognized it, and he made a very simple suggestion. Young man, try some of our local raw honey. It can help get over your cough and cold. It's local and raw, and I get it from a beekeeper. As soon as he said that, I just immediately burst out laughing at him. And the only reason I was laughing at him is because does this guy know that I tried home remedies, like good home remedies, like my grandma type of home remedies, like turmeric and onions and all different types of carrots and stuff? And does this guy know that I tried over the counter medication and even went to the doctor? And I didn't think just regular honey would do it. And he said, no, this is not the honey that you can find in most stores. Unfortunately, a lot of those honeys aren't real honey. It's either pasteurized or it's laced with high fructose corn syrup. This is the real deal. It's local, it's raw, and I get it from a beekeeper that I know. And he kept saying that. And I just asked him, what is so special about local raw honey, or why must honey be local and raw? And he expressed the medicinal benefits and how it offers us immunotherapy by the bees visiting our local flowers. And by consuming that, when you have raw honey, you have bits of pollen inside the raw honey, but also it's the medicinal value of the wildflower nectar that honeybees go and visit. That's extremely medicinal, and it can better your health. So this was a mouthful, and I was like, wow, that's different, and I'm desperate for answers. I'll try it. He told me something I never learned before. It was packaged different, and it was crystallized. It wasn't in a cute teddy bear type of packaging, or it wasn't in a liquid state. It was hardened, and it looked homemade. So I was like, you know what? It's different. He said he got it from a beekeeper, and he educated me on a few things, so I tried it. So within 3 weeks of consuming this local raw honey, I would consume maybe 3 teaspoons in the morning, afternoon, and night. It completely got rid of my cough and cold. Now, for most people, some people say, okay, so what? Big deal. But once again, my cold was lasting for over 2 months, and sometimes I'll cough almost every 10 seconds. So this was a problem. This is really bad. So for honey to work, this was a miracle, and Nicole noticed it, and we began just to learn more about local raw honey because we had some more left, and we want to know what it could do for our health. I feel like I've been talking very long, but it's a very long story.
Well, I was going to say, you've been in marketing, so you know all about making a buzz.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So
how did you get from, all right, you had this cold, it moved, you feel like honey made a big difference for you. That's great. But then how do you get into like removing a swarm of bees from a bus stop? Right? So how do we get to there?
The switch up. Okay, perfect. Before we pursued bees, or before I got sick, Nicole and I were already thinking about doing something with vacant lots. Mm-hmm. We saw an article where they stated that Detroit currently at the time had 90,000 vacant lots, and they were looking for residents and nonprofit organizations to reactivate these vacant lots. So while being in the for-profit industry for over 12 years, I thought it'd be something great for me to give back. This would be a perfect opportunity to give back to my community and kind of help address this issue. We thought about a peacock farm. We thought about urban gardens. And also we thought about an outdoor photography studio whereby the community can utilize this, but also fill that need with vacant lot space. But it wasn't until I got sick, learned about local raw honey, discovered how bees made honey, that Nicole here thought it'd be a great idea to bring a beekeeping operation to Detroit, because we just didn't want just something to fill the space. We wanted a unique, creative experience that you could see nowhere else downtown, that people in the neighborhood can activate or be utilized and also just better themselves, but also something great for the environment as well. And that's where we thought the beekeeping operation would be great. So out of that birthed Detroit Hives.
So I understand that Detroit Hives is a nonprofit.
Yes.
And so what does that mean today? What does that look like today?
What we're doing is we're working to strengthen our communities and bee populations by transforming or converting vacant lots here in the city of Detroit into buzzing apiaries. And apiaries are short for bee farms or bee yards. But also we're looking to partner with local schools, community organizations, and small businesses to help grow our mission. We want to be able to educate many about the importance of pollinators and bees, but also address several issues that we're dealing with in our community, particularly dealing with food deserts. In our communities, particularly on the east side, we don't have a lot of access to fresh organic stores or different types of restaurants that have healthier options. In some of these communities, we have access to liquor stores, gas stations, and fast food joints. And this is how most people are finding their sources of food or groceries. But for an attempt to promote healthier options, we wanted to find ways we can replace white sugar and high fructose corn syrup out of our diets and replace it with honey. And with that being said, that's where we thought Detroit Hives, the urban beekeeping operation, would be perfect for this. But not only perfect to help address issues with changing our diet and healthier options, it'd be perfect for beautifying our community. Vacant lots sometimes, unfortunately, can pose as potential grounds where dumping and it can encourage people to dump, or sometimes it's just not really safe for children going up and down them. But one great thing about vacant lots is that they're overgrown with so many different types of weeds. But here at Detroit Hives, we believe weeds is the bee's knees.
All right, Nicole, why are the weeds the bee's knees?
That is a good question. Weeds are the bee's knees because a lot of people don't know that weeds like dandelions, clovers, thistles are all important flowers and plants for the pollinators that we have. And so I know those are eyesores for lawns, but they're helping with their food. So if you let your weeds grow, you can say it's for a good cause. Put a sign up there where you're helping the bee population.
One of the movements I know that has been gaining steam, especially thinking about the Udolph Garden that's coming to Belle Isle that we talked about on the show a while back, is this move towards more native plants. I assume those native plants, like if you were intentional about native plants, you could actually do something that is really great for bees, right? So what kind of plants should you put in a garden to help your bee neighbors?
Yeah. So you could put lavender, cone flowers, black-eyed Susans. They love a lot of herbs. So sage, lemon balm,
oregano,
mint.
Balm.
Mint, it's good. They love that.
They actually love clovers too.
Yeah.
You know, they love clovers. They love the little small flowers. And these are actually the first signs of food for them in the early spring.
How can people get involved with what you're doing? What are some of the programs that are coming up? How can people, get to be a part of this? I can't help myself. I'm puns. I love puns.
Yeah, we love them too. So everybody can join the Hive. And what we mean by joining our Hive is following us on our social media platforms. So it's all Detroit Hives on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Also, we're also looking for volunteers. We exist in 7 locations with 32 beehives around the Metro Detroit area. This is increasing because we've been collecting swarms and placing them in different locations. So that number is going up.
Absolutely, just with cleanups too. Like a lot of our sites and vacant lots that we're acquiring, we do need help, We are a fairly new organization, but with the help of the people, we can achieve a whole lot more. So with spring cleanups and also just helping with some of our events that we have coming up, but also we also have a T-shirt that we're selling, and this is allowing us to raise funds to increase our high projection. We do have a 5-year goal in place, and one of that is to increase our hives from 32 beehives up to 200 hives by year 2023. And
then also, so if you see any swarms nearby, yes, we can come pick those up.
Yeah. So don't be alarmed. Do not spray them. Do not kill them. Do not spray any chemicals in your lawn. Just contact us or a local beekeeper, and we'll love to pick them up and just relocate them to a safe place.
Here are 3 more things you should know today around Metro Detroit. A muralist working on a project for the city of Detroit was arrested by Detroit police who believed he was committing vandalism. It happened Wednesday while Sheefy McFly was working on his commissioned piece near 7 Mile and John R. The Freeb and the Metro Times report that McFly, whose real name is Tashif Turner, was not carrying his city-issued permit with him when police questioned him. A police spokesperson said that McFly was uncooperative, and it resulted in him being arrested on suspicion of resisting and obstructing, and for an outstanding warrant on an old parking ticket. Multiple cars arrived and hauled Sheefy away even after a city official showed up to vouch for him. McFly then spent a day in jail, and after his release detailed very poor conditions there. The city has both been cracking down on artists using spaces without permission while supporting some to create works throughout Detroit. McFly's arrest and subsequent ordeal has sparked a strong reaction on social media. McFly, for his part, recently tweeted, "And with every station interviewer and news writer in my city, they listened to me, they made me feel safe, and they spoke to me and treated me like a human being. If the police would have did that, none of this wouldn't have happened." We'll have links for more in the show notes. The days are numbered for the Palace of Auburn Hills. Home to countless concerts and for years the Detroit Pistons, the arena comes down this fall. In its place will rise a 100-acre mixed-use office park owned by Tom Gores and Livonia-based developer Showstack Brothers. There was no purchase price or exact timeline for the project given. Auburn Hills is a hot area for certain types of commercial property. Almost 100% of light industrial space in the city is occupied. The city of Ferndale plans to install a rainbow-painted crosswalk within the next 2 weeks, with the exact date depending on the weather. The Oakland County Times says it'll be installed on West 9 Mile in downtown Ferndale between Allen and Woodward. It was apparently inspired by a similar crosswalk in Seattle. Before I let you go, some thanks are in order. There are 2 new Patreon members over the weekend, Allison and Andrew. You are awesome. Thank you for helping push Detroit's conversation forward at patreon.com/Daily Detroit. Until tomorrow, for Sven, Randy, Cheyenne, and the team, I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.